had the best start to the season. They actually won up in Brisbane. That's a pretty hard thing to do at the best of time. I don't think they had the greatest of records in that part of the world, so they'll be pretty confident going into this week's game against Geelong. Coach of the Fremantle Dockers, Mark Harvey, good morning.
Good morning, Millsy. I think we've won twice out of 9 or 10 times up there now, so they've been the last two, so it was an exceptional win.
And I think you said earlier in the week that no team had actually beat Brisbane at home in their first home game of the season for a while. Was that correct?
Yeah, since about 1998. So they'd had a big build up to the game. Obviously, they had a pretty a pre-season to forget on the back of Vol and a few other things. And then the week before, they had their triple premiership players up there as well, who were talking to a lot of their younger players and about how to be successful, etc. So we found their intent was really good.
Yeah, well, I mean, you obviously look at every game, week on week, week to week proposition, as they say, but that would have been one that you would have thought, well, I looked at it on paper and thought, oh, you should win it, but it was a lot tighter and a lot tougher. Obviously, you expected it was going to be a hard-fought encounter.
Well, it always is. I mean, the trip alone is, sapping, and the players find it quite difficult at times to back up after these sort of things. So that's the main objective this week, and make sure that we're ready for Geelong. Otherwise, it sort of nearly goes out the window if you don't back it up at home. Yeah.
Did you see the photos of Brown's face? It was pretty average.
Oh, I did, yeah. It's just an unfortunate accident that sometimes can happen on a football field, but to his credit, no stretcher, he got up and walked off, and he's got a big heart, that boy.
Yeah, indeed. We've been talking about the fella from Melbourne, Daniel Bell, that wants some compensation for expected brain damage as a consequence of suffering concussion from time to time. Did you knocked out in your career, mate?
Yeah, there would have been 3 or 4 times. Yeah,
3 or 4?
Yeah, when there's 36 players on a night, everyone's running all over the place. If you're a realist, it's going to happen when it's a contact sport. So it comes with the game.
Yeah, I suppose the key is when you're a coach, you worry about the welfare of your players. What's the rule for concussion now? If a player gets concussed officially, he can't come back on the field for the remainder of the game. Is that the situation?
Well, that's basically what the AFL said now, and arguably that decision is as important as it is the following week as to whether you play the player or not as well.
So there's no hard rule in regards if a player gets knocked out one week, whether they can or can't play the following week?
No, it then depends on how they recover throughout the course of the week.
Yeah.
So many things like, are they having headaches, etc., etc.
Yeah. Chris Scott, did you see him when he actually won his first game as a coach of Geelong? I know he's a former assistant coach of yours. Did he ever get that excited when you guys won?
No, he didn't, Millsy. It's quite interesting when you go from an assistant coach and you're sitting in the passenger seat to sitting in the driver's seat, and that's the emotion of a senior coach, getting caught up in a lot of things. So that was quite interesting, I thought. Let's hope he doesn't do that on Saturday night.
Maybe as an assistant coach, he was hoping that you failed all the time.
Well, that's your philosophy.
Only kidding. Mate, it's a Purple Haze game. It means a lot. For those that aren't familiar with what that day means, just describe it to us.
Well, it's Starlight Foundation. We raise money for kids that are going through a hard time with cancer and things like that. And I think we've raised upwards of $250,000. And it's a fascinating game more often than not, and to see the sea of purple and people get behind it, it's fantastic. So, just to help young kids in need.
Last year's game, when we look back, Geelong-Freo was one of the games of the year. Freo got up by a point from memory. You match up pretty well on paper. Has that changed much this season?
Yeah, a little bit. We've sort of still got some players out, and obviously, they're missing Scarlett, though he didn't play this time last year. But, the other thing is, Millsy, they also put us out of the final last year. So there's a lot to remember and to make sure that we keep conducting ourselves and beating the sides that are in and around the top 4. And, their area is still going. They're still a quality side. And I think they might have 19 premiership players. So, if you don't put a lot of pressure on Geelong, they'll hurt you.
One of my favourite players down there, Michael Johnson, I thought he was pretty quiet last week. You'd expect a bit more from him and also from Duffield?
Yeah. Both are important players. Both are what we call linked players. They were. But I guess that's the strength of the team. If you can win and some of your players like that can have quiet games, those guys would are very proud and would like to have 2 quieter games. I thought Duffield was okay in the heat of the battle, but Michael had a quiet one, so we'll expect more from him this week.
Now, Matt De Boer, he's had one game in the Waffle. Is that enough to make him eligible for selection this week?
Oh, he's the type of player that, presses hard for selection because of the way he plays. So that's his only game that he's played over pre-season. So it's whether he needs another game or not. And we have to work out as a selection committee, but based on maybe having a look at a couple of our players, whether coming back from Brisbane, we need to keep freshening the team at this stage.
Are you facing a more difficult encounter at this stage of the season than you were last year, considering the amount of injuries you've had?
Yeah, I just think, once again, the group has progressed, and the maturity of the group and the physical contact of the group is a lot better than it has been over the last couple of years, because our younger players are getting bigger and stronger. So I'd like to think that we can keep going. The more we can, the better off we're going to be, obviously. So that's the challenge for our group.
Has Neil Diamond inspired you this week?
Well, I was there. I did hear you were there. Did I see you go? Are you an awkward dancer, by the way? I thought it was you, if I could see.
I was trying to see you dancing. You look very good.
He was fantastic for a guy at 71, and
yeah.
A lot of great songs.
All right, and what can you say to the punters this week? Get along there and support the Purple?
Absolutely. I think it'll be a full house, and it'll be rocking, hopefully.
All right, let's hope it's a good game. I'm sure it will be. Mate, well done on last week. Let's hope you can make it 2 from 2.
Thanks, Gildy.
Take care. Mark Harvey there, coach of the Fremantle Dockers here on